All right, welcome back. SmartHelping.com here. I'm going to go over the inventory calculation within this three-statement model. This template, I did a full video, like how I built it, and while I was building it, it's at like an hour long, but this is going to be a quick one to show you how to use it and just focus on what it does. So the point is to figure out and teach people if you've got if you're doing a financial forecast and this goes up to 60 months, if you're doing that and you have inventory purchases happening, um, and you have to figure out how to integrate that into the balance sheet, cash flow statement, income statement, this will show you all of the inner workings and all the math and logic that go into getting the correct balance on the balance sheet, correct inventory value, and everything that's just specific. I try to just keep this focused to only items related to inventory. Um, so let's start with the inventory detail. This is where you'll have to do some work to figure out if you can't fit it directly into this structure because at the end of the day, you just need to know what's the total amount of inventory purchased and then when is that paid for. If those two things are what you have to come up with, the logic here was you can enter like how many months you're uh, let's see what is how much. This is the amount of months you're purchasing inventory for, and then it's assuming that based on that purchase schedule, you're just going to see, every 2 months we start in month one, then 2 months later you got another purchase, another purchase, another purchase, and it is assuming there's no logic here that you're purchasing based on what's in the cost of goods sold for, let's see, we did E8 to F8 on the income statement. So it's the following 2 months. Now that could be, you can finesse that into anything you want. It depends on the situation, but all you need to make sure is that the inventory you're purchasing has some relation to your cost of goods sold because this is your depletion of inventory. And so your purchase of it has to do with your depletion of it. Um, and then the amount of months you purchase it for and the timing of that, you can kind of hard code it if you want. I just tried to put some basic logic in here so you could change it uh, at a high level, but it could be specific to your situation. And then we've got here you could purchase if you got payment terms, like let's say I buy $1,500 worth of inventory month one, I pay for 25% up front, 75% the following month, or 75% some other month or whatever, or multiple months at a time. You just have to make sure you get um, the correct month that the cash actually goes out and the total inventory purchase of the total purchase amount when the actual purchase happens. And those two are directly related and need to match up. Usually, in most cases, like 95% of cases probably, you can fit it into this structure where you've got purchases and then you pay for either all in the first month or some in the first and some in the second. Now, the reason why I wanted to show payment terms is because there is an aspect of accounts payable and inventory. So if I buy $1,500 of inventory here, but I only pay $375, the actual journal entry for accounting would be debit inventory 1,500, and this is how we're getting to our inventory value here. So you raise inventory by 1,500, you lower cash by 375, and you raise accounts payable by the difference. And you can see this is our schedule for what is happening to accounts payable over time based on this. And this is all interrelated, the timings of when it's purchased and when it's paid for, and the resulting effect on payables. So here we've got $1,100 in payables, so that's going to balance out. That's how our balance sheet has the correct inventory balance because we've raised inventory by the total purchase amount. We've reduced it, or then we've reduced cash by the amount of cash paid. The difference is what the payables is. And then when that's paid out in month two, the payables go to zero, nothing happens to the inventory, and the remaining cash, you see cash purchase of inventory is here, and the cash goes out, whatever that total amount is. So you can backtrack all these formulas and really understand all the inner workings of inventory, where it's going, and how you end up balancing on a balance sheet. And these are the main items. Like I just put a full income statement because you need to see how cost of goods sold goes through to affect net income and how that comes back off in the cash flow statement. You see you add back cost of goods sold, um, and then you actually reduce when the inventory is actually purchased to get your net change in cash. Finance activities, investing activities are not, there's no logic with that, with this model, because there's not anything directly related to inventory at a high level that I wanted to focus on with that. But they're just here so you understand all the different parts of the cash flow statement. But the operating activities is the only part that has logic. I also did a detail here on the balance sheet to show every month what are all the accounts in the different financial statements that are affected. So month one, we've purchased inventory. Inventory is going up by 1,500 as an asset item. Cost of goods sold, inventory has gone down. So inventory leaving. So that's going to reduce the inventory balance. So we're increasing it by this, reduce the inventory by this. Cash goes out. Total net effect on assets is positive 375. As you know, assets equal liabilities plus owner's equity. So now you've got liabilities going up here because we didn't pay for all the inventory yet, but we've purchased it. So liabilities is the difference, and then retained earnings is going down by 750,000, and that's because we have um, oh right, because we're assuming this inventory of 8,000 in month zero matches up with the inventory balance here of 8,000. So to get it to match, we had to show the 8,000 of cash going or purchases going out. And so where were we? So you can see we're doing. Oh no, I'm sorry. So what this is showing is that the effect of retained earnings is that it goes down 750, and the net effect that's happening there that's causing retained earnings to go down is simply the cost of goods sold, and that's hitting on the income statement. So what I was trying to show here is what specific transaction of inventory affects the equity, because you want to see why does every month, why does it balance, how does it balance. Well, here's what's happening in the assets, liabilities, and then retained earnings. It's not saying retained earnings is negative. It's actually um, positive here, but the effect inventory is having on it is going down by 750, and that's because on our income statement, the thing that's affecting retained earnings is net income, and what if you're just looking at inventory, you're the effect is when the inventory leaves, you're reducing retained earnings by that amount in the form of, but it's represented in the form of net income. But I wanted to pull the transaction out specifically to show you how why are we still in balance. So the net effect of assets is positive 375. Liabilities is going up by 1125, but also inventory is going out, so that's 375. So you can see the both here, and these will always match. So, and then month two, you can see inventory is still leaving, but there's no purchases, and we've paid off the liability. So the liability goes down, the cash goes down, so there's no effect there. Um, and then so you've just got inventory going down, which is affecting the income, which is affects the retained earnings. You can see in month two, all that's happening is we've paid for this inventory. So cash going out. And the reason why it's zeroed out here is because payables is going to zero and cash, uh, nothing's happening with the actual, um, the net effect of in relation to the asset value is just the cost of goods sold leaving. So inventory going down. And then in theory, so inventory D13. So that's what's just paid up front. I wonder if we could show. So if we showed the reason we could also show um, payables going down as a negative here. Payables is going down by 1125, and cash is also going down by 1125. Um, let's see. This actually might be even easier to understand if we did that. So 13, if we had this and this, or subtracted it rather. So here you've got this going down, but payables is also going down. So payables gone, it went up here. Here it went down. I'm trying to see the best way to represent that. I guess we could do payables decreasing. So row 20, whatever negative row 20 is. So D20. So minus this. The reason why it's still balanced is because the effect is a net zero. This 1125 is cash dropping. So if cash goes down, that's asset dropping. Liabilities goes down, that's dropping, so it zeroes out. Now hold on a second. What are we doing here? Total change in assets, 18. Total change in liabilities. I'm trying to think of the best way to represent this. The whole point of this little detail was to show you in one spot what is happening so that we still balance. Trying to think of the best way to describe this because this is really the last piece of the model. Um, so if you've listened up to this point, you basically got it all. I'm just going to try to figure this out real quick. Let's see. So payables is rising here, matched with inventory rising. This is balancing out with the cash. Month two, we're now paying that cash back, so we've lowered cash by 1125, and we've lowered liabilities back down. So total asset effect, that liability effect. So changing this, these are the two assets and liabilities that are going to change. There's no effect on equity here. Oh, what am I? I don't even know why. So that's this is zeroed out. So you got 1875 here and 1875 here. All right, let's just drag this over. So I don't know why I was confused there. All I did was the net effect changed, but they're still both equal, which is what is the point. So, and that's fine. I don't know why I thought there was an issue when there wasn't. Um, so yeah, now you can see that the actual total change in assets is down 1875 in month two, and the total change in liabilities and equities is negative 1875 here, and it still balances, which it should because cash goes down, this goes down, these balance out because these have to equal. Okay, so there you go. Now, if you had, let's say you paid 100% up front, then you don't have any payables here, as you can see, because you're paying it all up front. So now the effect is inventory goes up, cost of goods sold goes down, cash goes down, and then the retained earnings is going down by the cost of goods sold. And that net effect is the same, and that's why our assets still equal liabilities plus owner's equity. Put this back to, let's just say 60, doesn't matter, any percentage. Um, I did also allow the user to put their starting inventory on hand because that's likely going to be the case. This is going to be an ongoing operation. But really, the most important piece, and I have other models that could help with this, but it's just knowing your inventory purchase amount each month, what it's expected to be. Here, it's just based on future expected cost of goods sold, and then how much you're prepaying for those, and when you're making that purchase, and then when you're actually paying for it is going to directly impact if you have to deal with payables or not. Um, and this is a pretty good place to start if you're doing inventory forecasting within like formal financial statements like a three statement model. All right, hopefully this helps people. See you on the next one.